Welcome to the Aegis Biz and Tech Podcast. We're in season 7. Thanks for listening all these years. Thanks for watching. My hair's gotten grayer. The jokes have gotten better. So what else can you ask for with your podcast? From your regional favorite host, Blake Dowling. I'm also the CEO of Aegis Biz Tech, providing IT support in Florida and throughout the South and the nation. We're opening a DC office this year to better serve our clients in that area. If you have IT needs, you know who to call. And for today's PSA, don't click, don't respond to texts, don't answer phone calls that look suspicious. Don't trust anyone, just like Fox Mulder said. Seriously, hackers have turned our communication tools into threat delivery systems, so don't fall for it. They're trying to take your money, liberate you from your coins and your retirement. Let's all work together to stop hackers, stop cybercrime, and stay cyber safe. All right, today we welcome my friend, real estate expert, Daniel Wagnon, Managing Director, Structure Commercial Real Estate. It has been one of my goals to have you on this show. You're an awesome person. We won't talk football right this second, but we will at some point. But Thank you so much for coming on the show, Daniel. Happy New Year, man.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me, Blake. And like we were talking about earlier, old friend from the pre-Tallahassee Atlanta days. And glad to be on it, humbled to be on it. And I hope I can raise the level of bar here for some of the other interviewers you've had.
Yeah, we've got some commonality and a lot to talk about. So let's dive right in. So tell us about yourself, what you're doing professionally right now, and then let's back that into your childhood, first jobs, things like that. So what are you up to right now?
So I'm the managing director and principal for Structure Commercial Real Estate, founded in 2010. It is a full-service commercial real estate firm that does advisory, brokerage, and property and project management for public, private clients, nonprofits, a lot of government work, obviously being in Tallahassee in the state of Florida. And we provide kind of a full-scale, what's called a corporate real estate advisory model, which is a little bit different. It's kind of based on what you see in many of the larger organizations in the commercial real estate field, where we just don't specialize in putting a stick in the ground listing a certain type of building. We come in and kind of work with clients, whatever capacity they need, whether it's landlord representation, people that own buildings that need help with property management, getting buildings sold, getting buildings leased, getting buildings renovated, or a business like Aegis or any other business that is looking for a new home or trying to figure out growth, trying to figure out spoken model where all of a sudden you start setting up field offices around the country. How does that all work? How does that affect your culture, your organizational flow?
How does all that work?
Yeah, that's right. We can talk about that. So effectively, we kind of come in and look at it from a big picture, 50,000-foot view, and kind of, we take a step back. Everybody comes to us like, hey, I need a new office. Let's go look at some buildings. I'm like, time out. Let's talk about you and your company. Let's talk about, like, what do you do? Like, how many people do you employ? How many people work in the office? How many people work remote? How do you flow? How does your culture feel? Because the quickest way to deteriorate that is to start spreading people out, start forcing people into locations and buildings that don't work for everybody. But you can't make everybody happy, but you have to make the company happy. You have to make it profitable and make it work. Or if you're a nonprofit or government, you got to be able to serve your community, serve your clients, and be able to do it effectively. And real estate is just like anything else. Technology, security is a cog in that wheel.
Oh, yeah.
And so, you're here in a real estate building. You can't do this. I guess you could do this on your back porch effectively with your fire pit, but probably would not last very long, especially in the winter months. So, but that's kind of how we focus with our clients on it. We do it every day. And we're a small boutique outfit. We have about 10 employees, and we strategically try to stay small and nimble and kind of be able to move with the times, move with technology, move with processes, and be able to kind of be in the shadows a little bit in terms of kind of providing these services to our clients.
That's fascinating. And the first thing I thought of, because work from home obviously changed the game for so many different companies, including ours. With our DC office, we'll have a home office up there before we think about brick and mortar investment in our nation's capital. But to that end, you were doing this type of job 10 years ago, right?
So prior to founding Structure, I worked for some of the larger real estate firms. What brought me to Tallahassee actually was the Staubach Company.
Okay.
Roger Staubach, the old quarterback for the
Okay.
Navy, and the Hall of Famer for the Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
So I was in grad school at the University of Georgia, and I get a call while I'm at a University of Georgia Alabama football game, back when Georgia used to beat Alabama on a consistent basis, which rarely happens now. And I got a call from Roger, who said he wanted me to meet a guy named Collins Proctor and Mark Haney, who you probably know. Great people in this community, grew up in this community, and they had been hired as well and opened up an office here. And Jeb Bush had just became governor and was outsourcing a lot of HR, IT, and real estate was one of those. He wanted to outsource the real estate, leasing, portfolio management, asset management, consulting. Based on the 33 or 35 agencies at the time, everybody was kind of in silos, doing their own real estate transactions, leasing offices in every county, regional offices in the bigger cities, and nobody was talking to each other. So they figured out there was a means of efficiencies that could be created, which was kind of what Jeb was pushing for with a lot of these outsourcing of services or operations. And anyway, set up the team, and we basically came in and scrapped a lot of old models, and some pushback obviously from some old guard 30-year government employees who see us walking in the door and like, wait a minute now, are you taking my job? I'm like, no, I'm here to make your job easier. And basically worked with the legislature, worked with Department of Management Services, which does all the building and construction and real estate operations for the state of Florida, and worked with the governor and the Senate and the House, and basically put together a program and a process with statutes and whatnot that they still apply today. And they've, over the years, have saved tens and tens of millions of dollars and really got the portfolio probably where it needs to be.
Awesome.
So we're kind of a founding group that handled all that, which was really cool. Not something I've ever done before. My background was in investment banking in Charlotte and New York, and then also in energy trading in Atlanta, Georgia for Southern Company, which spun off to a company called Mirant back in the days that Enron and a few of those other outfits were getting into energy trading back in the late 90s and early 2000s. So that was really my background, was more in the investment world. And so commercial real estate was a little bit different, but business is business, and reviewing numbers is the same, and I'm good at it. So
Awesome.
That's kind of what brought me here.
And how did that lead to Structure?
So government advisory is a taxing job to have. I mean, you're dealing with a lot of politics and lobbyists and legislatures, and as I got older and family's growing in Tallahassee and I got young kids and I'm traveling from Key West to Pensacola, and I decided that I needed to diversify kind of the service line and the work that I was doing. And so I decided the best way to do that was to broaden the scope and kind of get into some more traditional local work. And so I partnered with J.R. Long and Stuart Proctor, which are now with Simonelli, and we put our heads together and created Structure Commercial Real Estate in 2010. We actually hired a marketing group that had worked with Coca-Cola in Atlanta, who kind of came in and did a big interview process and marketing review, and they're the ones who actually came up with the name.
Okay.
And so that's how Structure got born a little bit.
It's
and
a cool brand.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed watching it evolve over the years, and that name, it's powerful.
Yeah, it is. And we did, the three triangles was kind of symbolic of us three at the time, but also kind of just the stacking of services on one another in a kind of a full corporate model that, we just don't do one thing. We can come in and kind of do a few different things in terms of your commercial real estate, depending on what you need at the time. And so that's kind of the symbol of the logo itself. And then J.R. and Stewart spun off and kind of went back to working together in their own firm, Procter & Long, that's spun off to Simonelli, and I took over the reins of structure and have kind of grown it since then.
Sounds like a good structure.
Sounds like a good structure.
I couldn't resist.
Yeah.
And it's easy to pronounce, unlike the name of our company, which people can call Aegis. I'm like, why are you adding a letter? It's just Aegis. But structure, you know how to pronounce it by looking at it.
Well, Aegis, I think it comes from Greek mythology. It's some type of god, I think. I'm not sure.
Wow.
I'm joking.
You're dropping the knowledge. Yeah, it's a Greek word meaning shield.
That's right.
So, we're providing the shield for our clients from cyber threats, which is relentless these days.
Yeah, I've gotten 7 spam calls since we started the podcast.
Spam calls. I mean, just when you think you've covered all the bases, they go back because they do a rotational, attack. It's no different than say a blitzkrieg, by sea, by air, by land. If you block all the emails, then they go text. You block all the text, they go phone. You block all that, we're like, oh, well, let's mail someone a USB drive loaded with malware and see if they plug it in.
That's right. I've gotten actually pretty good at the spam calls. I've written down things in my desk in my office that I could answer the phone and be in mid-conversation, like, Mom, where's the meatloaf? In this, because it's all robots or it's people in call centers who are trying to get it. So
my new go-to is I'm retired.
There you go.
It stops every salesperson, every robocall in their tracks. Like, oh, okay. Well, except for hackers going after retired people. Of course.
That's right.
It's like, oh, retired. Well, can I sell you some crypto coins?
I know.
Sure.
I try to tell my mom, I was like, do not say your name and do not say yes and no.
Exactly.
That's right.
So, you're not wrong.
That's right.
You're not wrong. All right, so childhood. We were talking about Atari 2600s on the walk over to the studio today.
Yep.
What was your go-to game on the 2600? Was it Pitfall?
So I had a lot of skill sets with Pitfall. Hand-eye coordination was key to that. Clutch. Because
jumping on the alligator, that was not a rookie move. You had to know what you were doing.
The triple jump on the alligator was key. You had to know just the right pressure on the button. Was a big fan of combat. Yeah. Where you kind of did the tanks back and forth. My brother and I have one sibling. My brother's older by 4 years. And I think we spent a lot of time on the Atari playing combat with each other.
So where did that take place? Where did you grow up? And tell us about it.
So born in Panama City, Florida, of all places. Not the beach side, but old Panama City. And actually kind of was the classic 1970s, early 80s, blonde hair, beach, skateboard kid.
Awesome.
A little different than other people. And so my brother and I would build skateboard ramps, big vertical ramps, street ramps, and actually did it to the point that we actually became pretty good at it and actually got some sponsorships.
Oh, that's huge.
Oh yeah. So I have skateboards in my office right now that I kept from the old days.
What were those cool brands back in those
Santa
days?
Cruz and Powell Peralta.
Yeah. Wow, that brings it back.
That's right.
We tried in Dothan to build a few ramps. Nothing like that. No sponsorships, but we made Houston County proud.
Yep. We were I guess the rug rats they call it, kind of hood rats, I guess is better because of our hoodies that we would be skateboarding around and being kicked out of retail centers because we're grinding on their curbs and their walls.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we did that.
And bothering the customers.
That's right. And at the same time, huge sports guy. Like I love baseball more so than the other sports. Played all the sports, but loved baseball. So I was, skateboard kid by day, baseball player by night. The local little league where after you got to win, you got to go get the suicide drink at the
at the bowling alley.
No, the concession stand.
I got you.
Yeah. So did that, and then when I was in 4th grade, moved up to Albany, Georgia.
And most people might not know what the suicide drink is, but for everyone listening today, that's when you hit every fountain drink together. Correct?
That's right.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
Basically, so
make sure the Dothan and the Panama City suicide drink are the same.
Yeah. So basically, it's every flavor in the concession stand, which basically turns into just a black drink that tastes very sweet.
Yeah.
That's right.
Absolutely.
They're fantastic. Something that is perfect. You need it at 10 at night after a baseball game.
Huge. So Panama City for high school also?
No, went to Albany, Georgia when I was in 4th grade. And grew up in kind of a neighborhood of which the elementary, the middle, and the high school was all within walking distance from our houses. And so I have 5 great friends who are still great friends today that live all over the country that we still get together once a year, and we're just hoodlums of the neighborhood. We all live like within 2 or 3 blocks of each other. We jump through people's yards and over fences so we didn't have to go around in the streets, and like had little secret routes to get to each other's houses, and it was great. Albany's was the hottest place in the world when I moved there. The first summer I was there, it was 105 degrees, and I looked at my mom. I'm like, you know what? Where did you bring me? You know, this is horrible. Where's the beach? I want to go back to Panama City. But I ended
that's a big culture shift.
It is. But no, meeting those friends, and then just kind of grew from there. My brother lives there with his family. My mom still lives there. So Albany was a great place to grow up. A lot of good people came out of that city.
Yeah, one of my middle school friends from Dothan ended up here, Dr. David Woodham.
Yeah.
So it's cool when that commonality and that growth overlaps. David actually showed up at UF the day I was leaving, and I was like, man, I'm going to Atlanta. I'm going to go get a job. I was like, but meet my buddy Brian Edwards and Robbie Suter and a couple other guys. So he met my friends at Florida, and then ended up being, I believe, best man in Robbie Suter's wedding, and indirectly met his wife through some of those introductions. So that's pretty wild.
It is wild. It's cool that you can kind of go back to your old, so I'm familiar with Dothan as well. So all my family on my mom's side are from Bainbridge, Georgia. Mm-hmm. And then my parents bought a lake house on Lake Seminole.
Did they know the Georgia football coach from Bainbridge? Isn't he from Bainbridge?
Yes, we know Kirby Smart.
Okay.
Yeah, my mom grew up with his father.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then I met Kirby. I used to play football against Kirby. Spent a lot of time with him when he was at the University of Georgia. We knew each other because we're Southwest Georgia rednecks, as they called it. So always kind of, well, not just him, but Mike Bobo, who's offensive coordinator for Georgia, mm-hmm. also from Thomasville, and best friends with Kirby. Kind of knew all those guys back in their high school days.
That is super cool.
Yeah, so I used to go to Dothan because I worked on a family farm that was, the classic farm of cotton, peanuts, corn, hogs, cattle.
Dothan's the peanut capital of the world. Most people don't know that.
So when we had to go get a tractor fixed or need to go do anything with agriculture, the big city was Dothan.
Biggest town in a 100-mile radius.
That's right.
Yeah, Wiregrass Commons was the place to be when a mall was more of a thing than it is now.
That's right. So spent many afternoons with in a old pickup truck with my uncles driving to Dothan.
That's fun.
No doubt.
That football story reminded me, my grandmother lived in the Alphagam house with Bear Bryant's wife. And when I was digging through my stuff moving last week, don't move, everyone. That's my other PSA for today. Just stay where you are, moving boxes.
Yeah.
But I found a box of Christmas cards from Bear Bryant and Mary Harmon Black to my grandparents. Because they were buddies at Alabama. They all hung out as students. And then they lost track of one another when he started his coaching career. I believe it was Kentucky and then A&M and then Alabama, I think. Right. But a Christmas card, it wasn't from the Bear himself. It was from Mary Harmon, but just beyond cool to uncover those. And they're just talking about, we're going to be getting together. What are you doing for Christmas? And I'm like, Bear Bryant. I'm like, this is awesome. I mean, football's life. So this is setting up the next question.
Okay.
What is the greatest football game of all time that you have attended? Attendance is mandatory.
Okay. One you might not like, but it was special to me. Huh? Is 1997 on the banks of the St. Johns River.
Oof. When it was still called by its original and glorious name.
The largest outdoor cocktail party.
There we go.
The world's largest outdoor cocktail party. So at that time, I think I was a junior in college, and I think we had lost to Florida like 300 years in a row. And so we used to just go to the games in the mid-'90s. We just go really for the first quarter, and then it was like 35-0 Florida, and Spurrier was having fun with 7 quarterbacks throwing touchdown passes on us. We would
get in there, Danny.
That's right. And so we would just leave at that point and go to the landings or do something, just fun and have a great time.
And you didn't know hearing my Steve Spurrier impression was on your bingo card today, did you?
Oh, I love it.
That was good.
I love it. I still have the the snippet from his post-game conference that I send to my brother-in-law, Jay Smith, every day before the Georgia-Florida game. And
it sounds like a good tradition that I'm glad I have no part of.
Yes. I think I've sent it to a few other good friends of yours from the Florida days as well. But he says the day belongs to the Bulldogs. And it did that day with Robert Edwards. And so 1997, somehow, some way, Kirby actually had 2 interceptions in that game.
Wow.
Yeah, we actually somehow, some way had a perfect storm and played our best game, and Florida did not, and we ended up winning that game by a couple of touchdowns. And so I still have a framed picture, I think sitting in my mom's house, that says "Back on Top." It has Georgia scoring a touchdown. And then the other one's more recent, has nothing to do with Florida, but it was the Georgia-Ohio State college football semifinal back in 2022.
Yeah.
Of which literally at the second of midnight, Ohio State misses a field goal to win the game. Georgia ends up winning from the missed field goal. We end up going on and win the national championship over TCU the week later. Ohio State was littered with starters on the NFL rosters right now. Should have beat the stew out of us. And we were down by 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Stetson Bennett came back and won the game in the last minute. Unfortunately, we did not have that same luck this year against Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl, of which I was also present. So I won't put that up there.
Well, these things happen.
They do.
The cyclical relationship and the college landscape looks a little more balanced than it has. If there's anything positive from NIL, and that's a stretch to make this jump and this conclusion. But when you hear Vanderbilt, talked about in the postseason, and Pavia in the Heisman runnings, and you see Ole Miss and Miami, fighting to the end there.
Or Indiana.
In Indiana, and I saw John Cougar on 60 Minutes the other night talking about the program and their coach, and they're America's team right now. So the ball's in their court, literally.
Yeah. So I was talking to one of my sons, Davis, who's a big football fan, and I was telling him I dropped him off in Fort Worth at TCU yesterday and was on a plane flight back last night. And I was texting with him, and I was basically saying, I read somewhere that Indiana has a higher percentage of 23 and 24-year-olds than any other college football team in the country. That it was a majority of their roster was that old. The second team was Vanderbilt.
Wow.
So I was telling him, I was like, that might be the kind of the secret tool to beating, the NIL craziness.
Well, what a time to be alive. In college basketball, you have, NBA players coming back to college. It's a weird time.
It's become kind of a pro sport, unfortunately, but yeah, you're right.
So who do you think is the worst coach in football history while we're along that line?
Ron Zook.
Oh, boy. The Zooker. Man, he's outperformed many of our recent coaches, so I appreciate you sharing. But in hindsight, besides that night, he decided to start a fight at a fraternity house or back up a player, I believe it was.
He was big enough to, for sure.
So time travel. If you could go anywhere, anytime, forward, backwards, where would you go? What would you do?
I would actually go back to 1862 to 1865, the Civil War.
Okay.
I'm a big Civil War historian. I've read a lot of books. My dad was one as well. That's I kind of took it from him. And I've visited a lot of historical battlefields all over the Southeast mainly. I still have a couple of bucket list places in Virginia I want to go to. And I studied all the generals on both sides, on the north side and the south side. Great stories, great personal stories, how they ended up where they were. And I would just like to see, based on that event in our country, which is unprecedented, you have brothers fighting brothers and, family members on either side of the fence fighting each other, of which my dad had family members in the Civil War that fought on both the North and the South, who were close relations to each other. And they go back and see how that affected the United States, how that affected, just kind of what was put together by our founding fathers. That was a breaking point in our country's history that could have gone a lot of different directions. And great men like, Abraham Lincoln, I think, was the perfect person before he got killed by Booth, is, he was the best person to kind of ease that country back into holding hands together and kind of being one country again, because that could have splintered, and the United States could have been a lot of different things at that point. So I would have liked to have gone and seen all that and kind of seen some of these leaders in action. I definitely don't want to be the ones in the trenches at the time back there, but I'd like to go and seen it.
What always fascinated me from studying that era was the, you don't think about espionage, or at least I didn't, in a naive way, that there was actually spy networks on both sides.
Oh, yeah.
With international connections, from the French and other countries that had their own interests in, the war, and
Yep.
including the assassination of the president. I mean, I just didn't think that was a thing. When you hear the word spy, you think CIA or Israel's spy group. Anyway, it's fascinating.
There's some application. I mean, there was a lot of countries that were backing both sides for personal reasons and economic reasons, for sure, no doubt.
So, cocktails with a celebrity. If you could pick one, who's going to be that number one pick? Alive or dead?
Oh, alive for sure. It would be Robert Duvall.
What a great
in
actor.
the time period of his Days of Thunder movie.
That's what I was picturing when you said it. That's crazy. The scene in the barn with the car.
Yep.
Hey man, what was Tom Cruise's character's name?
Cole Trickle.
Cole Trickle takes the lead.
That's
exactly. Right. Oh man.
Yeah, so I would like to sit down with. I think Robert Duvall, not just because of Days of Thunder, but just a lot of the movies he did. He's never kind of broke character. He's always stayed true to who he was.
Yeah. A type casting that actually worked to the actor's benefit.
That's right.
He was that guy.
Yeah, and he's the same in all movies he plays at.
I'm too old. I mean, he's probably 30. I'm like, I'm too old to be doing
He's
this.
always brought out of retirement somehow, whether he's like in the Cowboy or he's a crew chief or a NASCAR. But he just looks like a cool guy just to have a beer with and just talk shop.
I agree. So if you get a do-over in life, which we don't, what would you pick?
Actually, a little flip it on its top. I don't really believe in do-overs, man. And it'll go a little bit if we talk further. But I think God puts you on a path that kind of is putting forth you for a reason. And there's tribulations that occur and great things that occur in everybody's life that kind of puts you on that path to where you are today. And whether it's good or bad, that's just the path you're on. So I think if I do something ever, I'd probably screw it up worse and probably be on a worse path than I am now. But I think, I'm here and sitting across from you. I got a great family. I got great friends. I got a great company. And so I'll think I'll pass on the do-overs.
That's a great answer. I love it. What's the biggest problem we got here in Tallahassee that we need to fix?
Man, I've had this conversation with a few people. I'm on the board of directors for the Tallahassee Chamber, which is a great organization that does great things for this community. And
yeah, their new CEO put out a great op-ed this weekend. Michael Dalby, nice work. You and Eddie on that piece.
Yeah, so Eddie is a good friend of mine as well, and I think
Eddie's
he's
great.
He's one of the few people that I think has a vision that could really take us to the next generation of Tallahassee. So Tallahassee, I'm still considered an outsider to Tallahassee, even though I've been here for almost 23 years. And so I've been lucky enough to have been in other communities and other cities, and I talked to the new CEO of the chamber who's had the same experience. He's been in other places. Mm-hmm. And when you've been in other places, you've experienced other cities and other economic and political environments, you can kind of take the good and the bad from each of them and apply it. And I think one of the issues we've had for so long is that we've had a lot of people in power, a lot of people with the decision making who've never really had a chance to go see a lot of differences in good and bad in other communities, other countries. A lot of them just kind of were born here, stayed here, and that's just kind of what they know. All very smart people, very successful people, but I think you need to bring a diversity of thought and diversity of experience to take Tallahassee to where it could be. Tallahassee, I think, is a little bit of an identity crisis, and Michael and I were talking about that, and Eddie and I have talked about it, is we want to be like a big city. We want to be, with a lot of corporate growth coming in, and we want to, be the next Greenville, South Carolina, or Austin, Texas. We've heard that all the time. But we still want to be the small town with the live oaks. We still want to be this kind of this quiet community that, everybody knows each other and you can just drive around and not in gridlock traffic of Houston or Atlanta. And so we kind of want the best of both worlds. And I think it's a misstep to do that. I think you got to see what resources that you have in town that makes Tallahassee what it is and what makes it great. I mean, university town, FAMU, FSU, Tallahassee State College now has a really great institutional and knowledge base and student base that really drives our economy and drives a lot of our job growth. I think we need to keep more of them here.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where the next step of finding that kind of that corporate model, but in a way that, again, that spins off and leverages the Innovation Park, the Mag Lab, of course, you've heard 1,000 times. I mean, it's something that no other community in the world has. And then you have state government here. I mean, we work with a lot of companies. Our company does, and the real estate, corporate real estate needs that are companies that are Fortune 100 companies, Fortune 500 companies that are in Tallahassee that nobody knows about. I was talking to the new CEO of the chamber, and I was like, those are the wins that we need to highlight. I mean, there's a lot of great companies here. They don't advertise themselves because they're here to service the state of Florida,
right?
Whether a government contractor or whatnot. But there is a lot of great companies here that have really smart people that work here, and they tend to hire Tallahassee-based people. They tend to, the people who work here live here. So there's an economic base there from a spending standpoint, and I think you leverage off the state government work that you have. I don't think you would have the number of law firms and lobbyist groups downtown if it wasn't for the state government being here, obviously, and that brings an economic impact for us. And so I think you take the kind of the resources you have and you kind of parlay that to what works here. We talk about, why can't we bring a data center here? Well, it's going to be very difficult to bring a data center here because of the power needs and
Oh yeah, we thought about building one.
Yeah.
We didn't think about it for long.
No.
Start doing that needs analysis and that cost analysis.
That's right. You got to have access to water and access to power that it's very difficult for a community just to come find.
Right. And who are you competing with? At the level that Amazon and Microsoft and Apple and whoever else has data centers, how do you get to that volume? You can't.
You can't. I mean, so what we're finding out, I actually sent this article to Eddie the other day, that in terms of AI and the energy capacity that's coming with it, hence why the data centers are a kind of the flavor of the day, is it uses, every time you use ChatGPT, it uses actually power. People don't realize that. And it uses a very significant amount of electricity every time somebody asks ChatGPT a question. And imagine that times a billion, times every second.
Yeah, and a lot of people aren't putting that together, and a lot of people are making that noise on social media. Like every time you put the silly, action figure of yourself, you're killing a tree, you're draining a pool or whatever.
You're using electricity. And so I was just over in West Texas over the last 3 days, kind of with my sons, and we saw windmills, hundreds and hundreds of windmills, which makes sense. And then we saw just the rural communities out there. The power is the same power grid that we have here, but there's only a minute number of people using it because there's big ranches and it's spread out. And so a lot of these rural communities in Idaho and New Mexico and Texas, even up into Tennessee a little bit, they have the ability to do stuff like that. And so again, not to digress, but focusing on what Tallahassee can do and not this following what everybody else is doing on the news and well, how does this small community in Idaho get a data center? We should get one. So let's put all our efforts towards that. So
Van Horn, Texas is a little different than Tallahassee, Florida.
That's right.
I got a family member over there.
Yeah.
It's pretty country.
That's right. So, I think we utilize it. I mean, I tell people all the time, I was like, you got to look at things in a wide spectrum. When I moved to Tallahassee to what I see in Tallahassee today is night and day. I mean, just from development standpoint around FSU, I mean, Gain Street was where you went for all the Halloween horrors because all the old warehouses, if you remember.
And literally the bar, the warehouse,
where
you could shoot some pool.
There you go. And probably smoke cigarettes in the bar, too.
Lots of cigarettes.
That's right. So, and look at it now. I mean, look at what's happened up when I used to drive in to I used to visit my wife, Allie, and her family's here. I used to come in and visit them before we were married. From Albany, Georgia, you come down through Thomasville. Mm-hmm. I mean, you come down, what's Thomasville Road, and other than Child's just being built, it was just trees. It was just plantations or trees or farms or families' properties, and you really didn't see anything. I mean, Ox Bottom, you had to really know where it was because it was surrounded by trees. And Bannerman, all that stuff was just side roads that went to Meridian.
Where I live now, Roden Cove, we used to mud people with four-wheel drives, after school at Maclay.
Yeah.
We'd go down Roden Cove, and you'd have a big mud pit there. And now it's a pond in the entrance to our neighborhood. So
but now look at it, again, and we're just looking. That's just 23 years ago. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you look in a lens of 30 years, 50 years, 60 years, there's good growth that's happened here. Now, not without its pains,
sure.
Not without its arguments on how growth should happen, and I'll let the building and planning committees and the city and the county commissions fight it out over that, how that people see it as good or bad. But I look at it from an outside standpoint is that I think a lot of great growth has happened, and sometimes you kind of let things happen organically, but you put the right leadership in place, like I said, Eddie with Rivos, a great company, a client of mine as well, and they have offices similar, kind of what you're doing with DC. They have offices in Atlanta and Austin and South Africa, and field offices, and their backgrounds with Jeff and him and Franz. They all kind of come from different areas, so they have different ideas. And I think Eddie's the right person for the right job right now in terms of kind of what technologies we can take advantage of based off what's happening at the research park down at Innovation Park, and then being able to kind of parlay all that and combining government and combining, kind of the retail growth that we've seen and the housing growth that we've seen. Also see, because we do work in every corner of Florida, I'm seeing what's happening in South Florida. I'm seeing the amount of Northeast and United States, migrating down to South Florida on both sides of the peninsula. The amount of development and growth happening in Fort Myers, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm, Miami, and is now trickled its way up to Tampa, Orlando, the Space Coast. And what's happening is a lot of companies and people are actually being squeezed out and priced out. And then they're finding places like Jacksonville is going to be a great growth market right now. And then you're seeing people move towards Tallahassee. So I think if people kind of look at it bigger picture, set the foundation now, I think that migration will eventually start making its way over. Because really, once you go to the west of us, it's a little bit more difficult because you have military bases, you have more recreational and beach,
right,
and resorts and kind of vacation. Tallahassee's, not to say that Panama City and Pensacola do not have their own economic and corporate wins. They do a great job over there. But I think Tallahassee, with it being the government, I think can really kind of be that stopping point of that migration. But it's going to take 20 years. It's going to take 30 years to do it. All right. So as long as we don't make decisions that kind of stimmy that, I think we'll be in good places.
Well, that's about it for time today. But we got to ask the greatest concert of all time question. What do you think? Greatest show ever?
Greatest show for me probably wasn't the greatest venue, but I had a friend in college whose uncle was Red Dog, who was the road manager for the Allman Brothers.
Yes, sir.
And so because of that, basically if the Allman Brothers came within 100 miles of Athens, Georgia, we had backstage passes. And so the one that sticks out to me was actually in Auburn, Alabama in 95, 96. We actually got to eat dinner with the Allman Brothers before their concert, and then we got to sit on top of the speakers while I'm overlooking JMO and Butch Trucks and their dueling drum sets, and I'm watching Greg Allman hit the keyboards and Barry Oakley on the bass and Dickie Betts on the guitar, and
wow.
And it was phenomenal. Listening to some good Blue Sky and Jessica. So for me personally, that was probably the greatest concert ever. Only close second was Spinning Drum Set in Albany, Georgia with Motley Crue, which is everybody's favorite if you got a chance to see that.
So you saw the 88 Guns N' Roses Motley Crue tour in Albany, Georgia?
Yes, I did.
Because fun fact, I was there.
Really?
My buddy Quinn Borland and I from Dothan on a Wednesday night, I think it was. It was a school night.
Yep.
We talked our parents into letting us ride with his sister, Alicia, drove us to Albany.
Yep.
And we saw that show, and you were 100% right. A spinning drum set with Tommy Lee on the kit. That was crazy. And Guns N' Roses, I was a little irked first because Whitesnake was going to be the opener.
Yep.
And then at the last minute, they're like, hey, newcomer, Guns N' Roses is supporting. I'm like, who is that?
Yeah, nobody knew. Like, just little. I mean, they had like their own little speakers set up, and they like brought with them in their car. I mean, it was pretty amazing. It was awesome.
It was a good discovery of commonality. Albany, Georgia, and I think it was 87 actually. That's awesome.
Yeah. So look at that. Atlanta, Dothan, Albany.
Motley Crue brought us together today.
That's right, brother.
Awesome, man. Well, that was a great show. Daniel, thank you for being here. How can people find out more about you? You on social platforms, Structure website? What you got?
Yeah, we're all on the social media of Structure Commercial Real Estate. StructureIQ.net is our website, but I prefer to have a cup of coffee on me, of course. So if anybody wants to get a hold of me, love to do it.
Awesome. Thanks for being here today. Thank you for listening to the Biz and Tech Podcast. My name is Blake Dowling. I'm the CEO of Aegis, and I'm a Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses fan. I just hung up the Guns N' Roses Monsters of Rock Donington poster in my new home. Jeannie Dowling is very excited about this. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the Biz and Tech Podcast. We'll see you next time. Go Gators.
Go Dogs.